Hello and welcome back to my humble show. I am your host for today and every other day, the Articulate Thinker. Hopefully, here to bring you art articles and articulation straight from Articulation Station. So be sure to like, subscribe, and enjoy the ride. Don't forget to turn on those bell notifications while you're at it. If you like it, put a ring on it. I meant to record this show yesterday, but things just didn't go my way. What can I say? I ran out of time. That may happen again today because I'm on my lunch break right now. I have to return to work shortly. I'll try to keep this show as short as possible. Let me get right into this news, breaking news about George Santos, who is toast. George Santos. The toastest without the mostest. It is fitting that I didn't actually end up uploading a show yesterday, I suppose, because there's a bit of an update as of today. And here is that update for you from the Associated Press in the case of this particular article and headline: Ethics chairman launches a new bid to expel George Santos after a withering report on his conduct. Before I read any further or report any further, let me pause. Let me freeze for a potential thumbnail for this show. There we go. All right. So, yeah. As for the rest of this article, the chairman of the House Ethics Committee announced Friday he has filed a resolution to force a vote on expelling Representative George Santos, Republican from New York, from Congress 1 day after the committee issued a withering report detailing substantial evidence that Santos converted campaign donations for his own personal use. So there are various allegations of crime and corruption within this report. And there's a link to that report, I believe, but I'm not going to click on that because I have it pulled up elsewhere, and I will click around and find out until I arrive at that point. Yeah, point of no return for him, so it seems. He is in Congress for now, though he hasn't really been a part of committees because this is all inevitable. I mean, everyone knew this guy was corrupt, but now it's looking like there is no avoiding an act of expelling him. I feel like it should be a litmus test at this point, honestly. Like, if you're in Congress and you're opposed to expelling him, then you yourself should be expelled. And I call it like I see it across the board, whether you're a Republican or Democrat. I myself am more of a Republican, obviously. But this guy, man, pathological liar indeed. What has he said that is true? I mean, we don't really know because we don't even really know who he is or what he believes, honestly. And people who voted him in the first place, I don't think they really knew either, did they? Not much opposition research there. Too little, too late. But it is too late for him now that people do know. Too late for him to turn his show around, get his act together. So he did announce yesterday, after the report was released, that he would not be running for re-election. He had previously proclaimed that he would be. So at least he has changed his mind on that much. But other than that, he is still playing the victim. I'm not surprised, though, honestly. This guy does not know his limitations. So, reading on, Santos easily survived an expulsion vote earlier this month as lawmakers in both parties stressed the need to allow due process, as Santos is also facing nearly 24 charges in federal court. But the release of the committee's findings has generated new momentum for ousting the scandal-plagued freshman. Shortly after the report was released, Santos announced he would not seek re-election. So how deep in the Department of Justice this ends up, only time will tell. I don't know if more charges will be added to his case criminally, so on and so forth. But for now, this is just a report from the committee, which has led to everyone, hopefully, calling it for what it is, finally. Now when certain members of Congress previously called for his expulsion, I was on board with that, but I understand that the need, or the desire at least, to wait around until something more definitive about his, well, alleged guilt comes out, and it has now come out, which is why I say it's hard for me to believe that anyone is going to want to keep him around at this point, unless they're just desperate for his vote, because contentious area of the country there, or shall I say, not exactly a red area of the country. So who exactly is going to take his place? Only time will tell. The evidence uncovered in the Ethics Committee's investigative subcommittee investigation is more than sufficient to warrant punishment, and the most appropriate punishment is expulsion, said Representative Michael Guest, a Republican. The Ethics Committee referred its findings to the Justice Department, serving up new evidence that could potentially play into the federal charges against Santos. The lawmakers opted to do their work without going through a lengthy formal process that would be used to make recommendation to the House on the appropriate form of punishment. So I believe there was the potential for the Ethics Committee to lump in an expulsion vote, or the recommendation for it, with the actual report, but that would have taken more time. It would have taken them more time to be able to release the report if that were to have been the way they went about it. So they did it quick, fast, and in a hurry instead, which I'm fine with, because now they can just agree outside of the committee to expel this guy. This clown, this con man. Guest emphasized in his statement that he was filing the expulsion resolution separate from the committee process and was doing so in his personal capacity as a member of the House. Several other members of the ethics panel have also come out in favor of expulsion now that the investigation is complete. And the committee is very bipartisan. I mean, split down the middle, 50-50, I believe. So Republicans and Democrats agreed alike that this guy is indeed guilty to whatever extent he may be found. Expulsion from the House requires a 2/3 vote, a high bar. It's the sternest form of punishment available to the House, and has occurred just 5 times in the history of the chamber during the Civil War, 3 times for disloyalty to the Union, and twice after convictions on federal charges, most recently in 2002. So it has been a minute. 21 years to be exact. Santos assailed the committee's report in a tweet on X as a disgusted, politicized smear. So that's his take on it all. He said he will have a press conference on the Capitol steps on November 30. Good luck with that. The vote on whether to expel him is likely to take place before them. Maybe he'll change his mind based upon the results. And it is possible that certain members of Congress, Republicans, are going to, for one reason or another, vote to keep him around. And if that happens, then they should be expelled, as far as I'm concerned. I know it doesn't exactly work that way, but I'm just saying. Get these clowns, these con men and women out of Congress. And things will be a little bit better. Just a little bit. The ethics panel appointed to investigate Santos met 9 times over the course of its investigation, interviewed more than 40 witnesses, and authorized 37 subpoenas. Among the most damaging of the allegations was that he used campaign donations to pay for stays in Atlantic City and the Hamptons, and to pay for Botox treatment at a local spa. He also used campaign money on OnlyFans. And I'll share a little bit more information on that if you just bear with me here. Because that is the drama that the world wants. The panel also described Santos as uncooperative with their investigation, declining to voluntarily testify or provide a statement under oath, because he's a pathological liar. He's not going to comply with anything any more than he has to. or at least he will comply, but he'll complain all along the way. The findings by the investigative panel may be the least of Santos's worries. The congressman faces a 23-count federal indictment that alleges he stole the identities of campaign donors and then used their credit cards to make tens of thousands of dollars in unauthorized charges. Some of his staffers have been involved in all of that as well, all those allegations, or at least some of them. Federal prosecutors say Santos, who has pleaded not guilty, wired some of the money to his personal bank account and used the rest to pay his campaign coffers, or to pad his campaign coffers. Santos, who represents parts of Queens and Long Island, is also accused of falsely reporting to the Federal Election Commission, FEC, that he had loaned his campaign $500,000 when he actually hadn't given anything and had less than $8,000 in the bank. The fake loan was an attempt to convince Republican Party officials that he was a serious candidate worth their financial support, the indictment says. So it is possible that this was all just a grift. No surprise, considering he is the grift that keeps on giving. But yeah, maybe he doesn't even believe anything he claims to believe, and he was just trying to make money. Maybe he has a fetish for fraud or something like that. I'm not really sure what his motive is, his incentive is. But, yeah. Pathological liar indeed. So here's another article, another headline. This from NBC News. Representative George Santos won't seek re-election following scathing House Ethics report. The House Ethics Committee found substantial evidence that Santos broke multiple laws and will refer its findings, including new uncharged conduct, to the Justice Department. One more headline. This one also from NBC News. Botox, Ferragamo, and OnlyFans. How George Santos allegedly spent his campaign funds. Allegedly. The House Ethics Committee found the financially struggling candidate was living the high life with the help of campaign funds. Santos called the report a smear. As we will see. And you know what? Let me just breeze through some of these pinpoint details here. Actually, this is a relatively short article, so I'll come back to it. First, let me read you a couple of things here on the great X, or Twitter. Donald Trump Jr. said yesterday, "I wish the House was focused on how many billions are being stolen in the Ukraine as they are on what George Santos spent on OnlyFans." He wishes the House was as focused on Ukraine and potential crime and corruption there as they are on what George Santos has spent on his OnlyFans account, or whoever's OnlyFans account. And Donald Trump Jr. adds, "Sadly, they will never focus on the things that matter." So he is saying that this does not matter. Individual corruption, individual crime does not matter, according to Donald Trump Jr. So my response to him is, you know why they will never focus on the things that matter? Precisely because they are cons and clowns who campaign on lies only to have people like you make excuses for them as you simultaneously complain about the inevitable outcome. Sorry if I keep scratching my face. I can't tell if I have a cat hair, which is often stuck to my microphone, scratching my nose, or if it's just one of my own mustache hairs, but it itches constantly. But yes, my point there is, hey, look, you're complaining about the lack of focus in Congress while simultaneously excusing the behavior of deeply unserious congressmen and women. Like, so if you want to excuse all that behavior, that bad behavior, you're just going to get more bad politicians. And they're not going to stay focused. So that's the first problem. And what should or should not be sent to Ukraine is an entirely different discussion. I'm just saying, regardless of what you want the members of Congress to be focused on, it is impossible for them to focus, or at least to be focused on the right thing, much less be right about it, if they are the wrong people for the job in the first place. So it is important to weed out the weeds. You get me? I think you do. Unless you are a simp for Donald Trump Jr., which I am not. House ethics say George Santos blatantly stole from his campaign, says Kirk A. Badeau, whom Donald Trump Jr. was reposting. Yeah. Spent donor money on OnlyFans, plastic surgery, trips to Atlantic City, designer clothes. Just some of George Santos's interests. So here's a relevant clip from a while back. I'm not sure of the date of this, but this is an interview on Fox News, which he took part in. And he claims in this interview that he had just found out about OnlyFans. He had just heard about OnlyFans, despite the fact that he had been on OnlyFans for months. So Unusual Wells says, "This is truly incredible. Here is a video of Representative George Santos in an interview in March, laughing that he just discovered what OnlyFans is 3 weeks ago." His words. His bank records now show he used campaign funds on OnlyFans 4 months earlier, per House Ethics Committee. Okay. So listen to him lie his way through this interview, this very short portion of this interview on Fox Business.
Speaking of peel, is it true that you have an OnlyFans page and you can peel a banana with your feet?
I don't have one, and it's, I'll indulge you this. I just discovered what OnlyFans was about 3 weeks ago when it was brought up in a discussion in my office.
What do you think?
And I was oblivious to the whole concept.
You just can't tell the truth. All right.
Oh, did you catch that at the end? Just can't tell the truth, she says, in response to him. So, congrats to her for calling him out on that.
You just can't tell the truth. All right.
That is great. I gotta play that one more time. Actually, I already heard this earlier today.
You just can't tell the truth.
I'm acting like I haven't heard it before, but that's just because it's a very efficient remark. Very snide remark, but efficient and effective. All right. Moving on, I suppose. Well, let me just add my 2 cents one more time here. George Santos is such a pathological liar that he makes the rest of Congress look honest. A low bar, I know. But he bypasses it by such a mile in the wrong direction that, it makes the rest of them look honest sometimes. And, whether or not he's on OnlyFans, not the most political discussion to have, but he is a deeply unserious politician. Deeply unserious person. And if you are making excuses on his behalf, Donald Trump Jr., then you yourself are deeply unserious. And I don't really take what either one of you has to say seriously. As for George Santos, well, here's what he had to say initially. Read a couple of statements by him from his X account. He said initially, "If there was a single ounce of ethics in the ethics committee," he puts it in parentheses, ethics committee, "they would have not released this biased report." Oh, so they shouldn't have even released the report. They shouldn't have exposed him. So he's not the unethical person. The committee is unethical. The entire committee. They're the ones who lack efficacy. The committee went to extraordinary lengths to smear myself and my legal team about me not being forthcoming. My legal bills suggest otherwise. I'm sure you have a lot of those. It is a disgusting politicized smear. So he's calling even the Republicans and the committee disgusting. They simp for a lot of unserious politicians. So the fact that you are getting the boot here should tell you something about yourself. Look in the mirror, dude. But he says, it is a disgusting politicized smear that shows the depths of how low our federal government has sunk. Speak for yourself. Everyone who participated in this grave miscarriage of justice should all be ashamed of themselves. That's hilarious. He gets caught with his hand in multiple cookie jars. And he's got like octopus arms. So he's got like his hands in so many different cookie jars. He gets caught with his hand in all of them, his hands in all of them. And he's like, oh, you're deeply unserious for catching me. You should all be ashamed of yourself. Reflects the attitude of a lot of people in this country, politicians included. We the people desperately need an Article V constitutional convention, he says. I'm sure he just learned what that was 5 minutes ago. We are quickly approaching $34 trillion in debt. The government is continuously on the verge of a shutdown. Our southern border is wide open. Our current president is the head of an influence-peddling crime family, and all this Congress wants to do is attack their political enemies with tit-for-tat unconstitutional censures, impeachments, expulsions, and ethics investigations. The time is now for the states to rise up and commence an article versus constitutional convention. Oh yeah, put that all in bold font. I'm sure that makes you correct. That's not how it works. I've come to expect vitriol like this from political opposition, but not from the hallowed halls of public service. Keep in mind, this guy is a rookie. He can't exactly list reasons why people would be attacking him. Like, the opposition research does not run very deep on this guy. I get it if you're Trump, you have like a ton of reasons why people hate you. You might be able to justify actions. And I'm not referring to any actual actions. I'm just hypothetically saying, if this guy was not some rookie that no one even had heard of 5 minutes ago, then he might could make the witch hunt argument. But he can't make that. So it just sounds absolutely absurd for him to make all of these excuses on his own behalf. I will remain steadfast in fighting for my rights and for defending my name in the face of adversity. I am humbled yet again and reminded that I am human and I have flaws. But I will not stand by as I am stoned by those who have flaws themselves. So he is being stoned. Really? He's being stoned. Either he really believes he's being persecuted, in which case he is delusional, or he's just, like I said, pathological liar, or both. I will continue on my mission to serve my constituents up until I am allowed. I will, however, not be seeking re-election for the second term in 2024, as my family deserves better than to be under the gun from the press all the time. You can thank yourself for that. Public service life was never a goal or a dream. Oh, it was a scheme, though. If not a dream, it was a scheme. But I stepped up to the occasion when I felt my country needed it the most. Look at him giving himself the hero treatment. He says, he stepped up to the occasion, even though he didn't want to. It was never a goal or a dream. It's just something that he felt obligated to do as the hero that he is, when his country needed it the most. He continues, I will 100% continue to maintain my commitment to my conservative values in my remaining time in Congress. Okay. Even if he did feel obligated in the first place, what happened to that obligation? You're contradicting yourself a little bit now just by saying, I'm not going to run for re-election. Okay, so you did run then, but you're not running now. So if you did then, because you were stepping up to the occasion, what does that mean? You're not stepping up to the occasion in the case of re-election? Of course you're not stepping up to the occasion, because you've shot yourself in the foot so many times you can't. One more statement from him. I actually have two more statements from him. These are shorter, though, so not as much reading and reacting on my part. The numerous reporters calling, texting, and leaving voicemails with their amazing ideas that would benefit me. Enough! No more. You've all taken your pound of flesh, and I won't allow it anymore. You won't allow it? You're going to block them all, I guess? I'm going to dedicate my free time to my family, whom I have neglected during this process. Oh, you can say that again. I wish you all well, but I am done. Okay. Then step down. Resign. If you're done. The communication door is closed, shut, and sealed, you say as you communicate on social media. Of course, you have blocked the replies to this particular post. So, you are done listening, but you are not done talking. That is what you're saying. And one more from him. This one is from today. My year from hell. Okay, so now he's not only being stoned, he is in hell. Running for office was never a dream or goal, but when the opportunity to do so came, I felt the time to serve my country was now. Okay, he acts like he's overseas in crossfire, serving his country. No, dude. You are raising money for a campaign, political campaign, which is based upon pathological lies, and then you are spending that money on yourself and on your husband. Wonder what he thinks about all of this. I mean, if he's with you, he doesn't exactly have much of a judge of character. Much of an ability to judge character either. All right, so looking back today, I know one thing. Politics is indeed dirty. Dirty from the very bottom up. Takes one to know one, I guess. Consultants, operatives, the opposition, the party, and more. The one thing I never knew was that the process in Congress was dirty. Okay, if you never knew that, you were deeply dumb in the first place. But I don't believe that for one moment, because you are the epitome of dirt within Congress. Calling it like I see it. So, again, however you want to apply this to the quote about calling the kettle black. I mean, this guy, absolutely rolling in dirt, rolling in mud at this point. And he's like, I'm just now realizing that Congress is dirty. Yeah, because you're there. So again, step down, resign. I will continue to fight for what I believe in, and I will never back down. What the Ethics Committee, he puts that in parentheses again, did today was not part of due process. What they did was poison. Jury pool on my ongoing investigation with the DOJ. I think there was a typo in there, but you get the point. As dull as it is. This was a dirty, biased act, and one that tramples all over my rights. You're trampling over your own rights, dude. You're shooting yourself in your own foot, dude. Move on. And he again adds that he will be hosting a press conference on November 30th. 8 a.m. on the Capitol steps. Be there, beware. Can't believe anything he has to say. So I got to go back to work. I have run out of time. No surprise there. Running my mouth so much here. Didn't want to spend too much time on this, but I have already. Let's see. I had these reports pulled up. Committee on Ethics. Statement of the chairman and a ranking member of the Committee on Ethics regarding Representative George Santos. Press release. November 16. It's on the screen here. Text is too small for you to read it. But I think the points have been made. His dull points, my hopefully less dull points. You decide. Feel free to disagree with me. Let me know in the comments below what you think, what you know. I had a couple additional tabs pulled up here. This is the actual PDF for the press release. House of Representatives Committee on Ethics Statement of the Chairman and Ranking Member of the Committee of Ethics or on Ethics regarding Representative George Santos. And the actual report of the Committee on Ethics. This is a little bit more lengthy. Definitely don't have time for this. But you can see it for yourself. You don't have to look too far for it. It's on the Ethics Committee website online. You can find all the PDFs and web pages. And this basically explains what he was spending his campaign money on, for example, OnlyFans, whatnot. What he should not have been spending money on. So he gets what he deserves, I think, in the end. But it may take some time. We'll see if any vote to expel him is as bipartisan as the report from the committee. They have recommended that he be removed. We'll see if it happens. I'll be checking in on this again in the near future, I imagine. Not the first time I've talked about him. Not the last time I'll talk about him. This is ongoing. And as for me, I have to go back to work now. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Keep in touch. Keep in tune. New content is coming soon. Peace.